Hey everybody, it is Tuesday, the 3rd of September 2024. It's 7:40 a.m. here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today, and it's going to be another little bit of talking about Germany and what's going on here. And the reason why that is important is because, this is a global fight. For those of us that want to retain our freedom and don't want the creeping totalitarianism that all of us feel to end up taking a foothold in our countries, then everything that pertains to the battle between the people and the establishment, no matter what country, whether it's Great Britain and the fight over free speech, whether it's Brazil and the banning of X, whether it's Javier Milei in Argentina, who is a great fighter for freedom, truth, and anti-socialism, or the United States, where basically the country is being run by who the fuck knows. They won't tell us. Joe Biden's clearly not running it and hasn't been, obviously, for the last at least 2 years. You know what I'm saying? There's no chance that while whoever's feeding him his morning pudding is giving him the presidential brief, and he's making actual decisions. That's not happening. That hasn't been happening. We all know it. And yet the government is unwilling to tell the American people the truth about who is running the country. So everywhere in the world, it is an attack from the leftist ideologues and the establishment together against the regular citizenry of each of our countries. So what's going on in Germany definitely pertains to what's going on in the States, what's going on in Brazil, what's going on in other places. It is all one issue. I have to tell you, I know that people don't like to hear that because people want to think, well, we're America, we're unique, and etc. But no. You're not unique. This is all of us against these establishments. And once people start understanding that, the quicker people start understanding that, the better off we're going to be. And we'll be pointing our noses in the right direction instead of at each other. But I think it's going to take a while for us to get to that point. So in the meantime, we will just continue to talk about the things that are important. So in Germany, a couple of weeks ago, we had an attack by an ISIS terrorist on people in a town called Solingen during a diversity festival. There were people walking around in the streets and big crowds looking at stands, looking at parades. And suddenly an Islamic terrorist from ISIS started wildly stabbing around in the crowd, and he murdered 3 people, basically pointlessly. Now, this guy should not have been in Germany. He was an illegal immigrant. He came in through Belgrade, which is a safe haven in compared to Afghanistan, so he should have been, they should have just stayed there, but Europe has open borders between the European countries, so even though he registered in Belgrade, he was still able to travel to Germany, where he made an asylum claim. Germany denied it because of his registration in Belgrade, yet they didn't deport him back to Belgrade, which would have done absolutely nothing, because if Belgrade didn't lock the guy up, then he would have just been able to travel right back to Germany. So as disappointing as that may be, I think the German government understands that wasting money and resources trying to deport people back to another European country really doesn't do anything. And so they basically, even though they looked for him one time, after that one time they gave up on him, and he ended up murdering 3 innocent German citizens. Now, the illegal immigration here in Germany has been a very big problem for a very long time, and people, regular people, the normies, are starting to wake up to that fact, and they have basically had it, but their calls are not being answered, as they're not in Great Britain, as they're not in any European country, as they are not in America. See, the people's, what the people want in regards to this massive immigration move in all Western countries does not matter to the people that make the policies, because what they want is open borders, legal and illegal immigration, and they don't really give a shit what the native populations think about it. And that's a problem. So people are starting to vote more right-wing, right-of-center parties. They are starting to vote for populists. They are starting to look more towards, what used to be fringe parties in order to come in and take care of this problem specifically. And, if they happen to take care of other problems in the meantime, that'd be great, and then they'll continue to vote for them. But people are starting to wake up to the fact that the establishment parties and the establishment politicians are not going to do anything about this illegal immigration. And it's not only that, they basically shit on everything the public wants. And we're all starting to see it. And so that is scaring the establishment politicians. And the establishment politicians knew that this ISIS attack in Solingen here in Germany was going to, well, it came kind of at the very wrong time for them, because there was an election a week later. And that would mean that the AfD, the so-called right-wing extremist party, would be able to use this murder spree in Solingen to their advantage and gain more votes. Now, I'm sorry, but every politician does that with every issue that can benefit them. So that's not an argument. And it's not really a way to make the AfD look bad, because it doesn't really make them look bad. It makes them look like regular politicians, which are picking up on the issues and the situations that definitely influence the public opinion about things. And so they're going to pick up on that. They're going to use that, and they're going to not use it in general for their election campaign, but they're using it to point out, hey, this is a problem that the other guys, the establishment guys, are not going to solve. As a matter of fact, they caused it. And the AfD and those who pick up on this problem are correct, right? They're correct. The illegal mass immigration, mass invasion of our countries has been facilitated by globalist-leaning, left-wing ideological idiots. And those people need to be removed from power. And they're being removed from power slowly but surely. But so before, let's go into this then, right? So the attack in Solingen happens, and the week after is an election in which the AfD could, for the first time, and they did, gain massive amounts of support. And the establishment politicians didn't want that. So at the very last minute, they picked 28 basically imprisoned Afghani guys and lined them up at the airport in front of a plane with a bunch of cops surrounding them, had the media take a bunch of pictures so that they could publish it in the newspaper, and then the big headline was that German government deports 28 criminals back to Afghanistan. Now that's great, right? That's great. I mean, all of us know, the people that watch me regularly, I'm guessing these people understand that this is a political show. Without even knowing the backstory, I'm guessing it's a political show, is what most people would think about this. I mean, a week before an election, they haven't deported anybody. They've let crime run rampant in their country here in Germany. They, whenever the question of deportation comes up, it's labeled as racist and Nazi. They can't do that, and especially not to countries like Afghanistan, which are dangerous places for them to deport to, so they would never do that. That's what we've been being sold for the last 5 years, 10 years. Whenever the deportation issue comes up, the establishment politicians and the left-wing ideologues all say, look, even though they commit crimes in our country, even though they kill our citizens, it would be inhumane to return them to Afghanistan, which is under the rule of the Taliban. We cannot communicate with the Taliban. We don't recognize them as a actual governing body, and so we can't make deals with them, which means in the end we can't deport back to Afghanistan, and we cannot deport to Syria. That's what they've been selling everybody. But now a murder happens, or 3 murders happen. People are outraged. There's going to be an election next week, and now they're like, holy shit, now we've got to just bite the bullet and show these people before they have to make a vote that, hey, we're suddenly serious about immigration and deportation, guys. And so the establishment picked 28 prisoners that they already had locked up, so it wasn't hard to find them, and some of them were child molesters, right? We know that, that's facts. Some of them were child molesters. And not only did they supposedly deport them back to Afghanistan, but they gave them all each $1,000 that now I also have to pay for. So you're gonna give child molesting rapists that should have been deported out of our country long ago, right? Long ago. You should have got rid of them long ago. And now you're going to deport them finally. Not only do I have to pay for the flight, it would be cheaper just to fucking put a bullet in these people's heads, and that's it, right? That I'd pay for, right? But you're going to fucking pay for their flight, make a big show of it on the airport. That costs money. How does the media know about this deportation? Well, it's because it was leaked to the media, because the politicians didn't want to just do their job like they would every day. It's not everyday business. No, they wanted to make a show out of it to show the people before the election last Sunday. They wanted to try to gain political points. Now that's gaining political points, people. That's fucking using the political system to your advantage in order just to get votes, because they're not deporting these people because they feel like they should actually be deported back to Afghanistan. Because if they said that, they would be lying, because they've been telling us for 10 years that there's no way in hell we can deport back to Afghanistan because of the Taliban and blah, 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 all the shit I just said, right? So they make up, and so they're trying to score political points using our tax money, right? And then on top of that, they all give them fucking the salary of $1,000 a piece that would last in Afghanistan for maybe half a year. I don't know how much inflation Afghanistan is experiencing or how their money system, can be assessed. But I would guess that $1,000 goes a long way in Afghanistan. Now, I think that the silver lining in this is going to be that once these guys got off the plane, if they were deported in the first place, okay? Once these guys got off the plane, right, there's going to be Taliban people waiting for them. And the $1,000 they have in their pocket, that's going to go to the Taliban. Sorry, right? And what's going to happen to them after that? Who knows? Maybe they'll be killed. Maybe they'll be joining the Taliban. Maybe they'll be in prison there. Who knows? Who cares? The thing is that the German government has been lying to all its citizens all along, because apparently there is a way to deport people to Afghanistan, obviously, because they just got rid of 28 of them. Or it's just a complete show bullshit. It's complete bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They could have paid all these guys $1,000 to go with them to the airport, stand by an airplane, take a couple of pictures, sign an NDA, and then they get $1,000 and sign an NDA that they won't tell anybody about this. But this was basically show. This was show. They're not getting really deported back to Afghanistan. They're not really going back. I don't know. I mean, both things are possible, right? Now, what makes me lean towards more that it's bullshit is because when the politicians were asked, how is it possible that you were able to negotiate this with the Taliban, they all say there was no negotiation with the Taliban over this. Well, I don't think that you can get people deported back to Afghanistan unless you kick them out of the airplane, with parachutes and be like, all right, just they land in Afghanistan, or they land on some tarmac somewhere and get put out the plane and the plane just turns around and fucks off. I don't know how they did it, but they've been telling everybody that the only way to do it is to be able to negotiate something with the Taliban, because there would be no other way to get an airplane down there with, deported illegals without being in talks with the Taliban. So they keep telling us that wouldn't be possible, yet somehow they pulled this off suddenly a week before election, and also a couple of days before the election happened on Friday, and also with the news media there to be able to take glorious pictures of these 28 fucking child rapists and murderers and whatever they did, right? And tell the German public, look guys, we understand. I know it took 3 murdered more Germans, to get us to get it, guys, but it has nothing to do with the election, guys. We understand that it's time to start taking charge in this immigration deal. We get it. After 10 years of telling you we can't do anything, we won't do anything, fuck you, your opinion doesn't matter, don't be racist, don't be a Nazi. Now we've suddenly turned over a new leaf, guys, and we're going to show you guys that's the case, because we are deporting 28 criminals back to Afghanistan, where we have told you it is absolutely impossible to do so. So either they didn't talk to the Taliban and they just dropped them off, either they didn't talk to the Taliban and they really didn't deport them because it's just they wanted to make a show out of it, gave everybody $1,000, made them sign an NDA to shut up, and they took it and said, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? We don't care. We need $1,000 is cool. They can find 28 criminals in prison to do that with. So that could be possible. Nobody followed the plane to Afghanistan. Nobody has pictures of them landing in Afghanistan and getting out of the airplane and, being hugged and welcomed by the Taliban. I don't know. Nobody saw any of that. All we saw was pictures taken by news media that is generally government propaganda. And we saw the pictures taken on the tarmac at the airport here. Who knows if that's even a real picture? I don't know. Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? And we're not going to know. The fact is that they did this, whether it was real or not. Another possibility is they just paid the Taliban off to take these guys back. They got a hold of somebody at the Taliban, right? They were like, okay, Taliban. And they were like, look, we're going to give you guys a couple $1 million if you take this plane load of criminals back to Afghanistan. We need it for political points. If that's the case, we also spent taxpayer money on that shit, right? So basically, the only way that these establishment parties can stay in power is they steal our taxpayer money to use it against us.
Slow traffic on A6, E50. Traffic jam ahead between L1100 Nikat Allstras and Eisenhut. 2 minutes delay.
All right, so they basically use our taxpayer money, use it against us, so that they can then propagandize everybody into believing that what they're doing is actually the politics that they were put in office to do, which is what they're not doing. They're just using their money that's not theirs, that's not for these reasons. It's not there to be able to gain them political points. It's there to build infrastructure, education, etc. for the people of the country that pay the taxes in, right? Okay, that's the deal. That's the way it's supposed to work. The politicians that are in the establishment should not be able to just use that money at will in order to keep hold on political power. That makes no sense to me. That is actually treasonous in my opinion. Now, do I know that's what they did? No, of course not. But I'm just giving you the couple of scenarios that it could be, right? It could be that the Taliban actually took them back without any strings attached. Unlikely, right? It could be that they've been able to deport to Afghanistan all along, and the Taliban has said, hey, if you've got criminals, send them back, no problem. You know what I mean? We'll take them. But the government establishment didn't want to do that because they felt it went against their narrative, and they felt it would be inhumane, and they could do it, and they've been able to do it all along. That could be the case. That seems a little bit more plausible. It could also be that they just paid the Taliban off and bribed them in order to take these prisoners back. That's also plausible. I guess we're going to find out when a bunch more Afghanis get deported. Right? Yeah, don't count on that. Unless the AfD wins in next fall's elections here in Germany. In 13 months, the national elections will take place. All right? And if the AfD wins any of that, it gets power, then the good thing is that we might see actual more deportation of criminals out of this country and back to their homeland or anywhere else. Right? That's basically what will happen then. But if the establishment parties remain in power, that's never going to happen. So I think that these 28 unicorns that were sent back to Afghanistan last Friday, we're not going to see anything like that happen ever again. And of course, the public, they're counting on the public to be apathetic and lazy, and they're counting on the media to protect them. And nobody's going to think about this anymore. They're going to be like, meh, you know what I'm saying? What can we do? I mean, what can we do, right? That they're going to be all about it. They're going to be like, yeah, they fooled us again. There's no more Afghanis getting deported. There's no Syrians getting deported. I wonder what's going to happen to the guy who stabbed these 3 people in Solingen. He's not one of the people that got deported. Why not? I guess they want to put him on trial here and make him sit in prison for a while. Yeah, maybe. Why should we pay for that? Why should we pay for that? Why don't they if he committed a crime, get rid of him right away? Let the country of his origin country, let them work it out, people. You know what I mean? It's just that simple. So, yeah, it's pretty disgusting. And the reason why this ties into what you guys are seeing in America is the politicians in the States are doing exactly the same thing. They're disingenuous, the establishment politicians, correct? So, everybody except for Donald Trump and RFK and J.D. Vance, the other side is establishment. The other side is establishment politicians that will do absolutely anything, including gaslighting you through use of their propaganda media to no end in order to remain in power. They will use lawfare. They will break the law. They will use taxpayer money against the taxpayers in order to propagandize them. They will do anything. And that's what we're seeing here in Germany. So a problem that they could have solved years ago, obviously, suddenly, they haven't solved it up until now. And now all of a sudden, because they're losing their asses in elections to populists who do want to tackle this problem of illegal and legal immigration into our countries, now they're suddenly trying to put on a show. They don't actually want to change their policy, people. They never do. They tell you they will. They never do. They don't want to change the policy. They don't care what you think, but they need your vote. See, they're in this fucking split all the time. They're in a catch-22 all the time. They will shit on you at every chance they get, but they need your vote. So what's the best way to get your vote but not actually have to do anything for it? And the only way to do that is a dumb, uninformed, apathetic, lazy, and ignorant public, which the other side, the left, the leftist ideologues, they've been able to rely on that for decades in order to stay in power. And it's worked pretty well. It's about time it stops working. So guys, think about that. Think about that. Everybody's going to get out there and vote for Donald Trump in November, right? In Germany, it's the same thing. When the national elections come up, people have got to go out and vote for the AfD, because if you don't want to have to solve these problems with violence, which is what might be happening in the States starting off. I'm going to get to that right in a second, right? If you don't want to have to solve these problems with violence, with actual physical self-defense for your rights and freedoms, then you will have to do it with the democratic process that is available to you. And at the moment, all we have is voting. So take advantage of it. Everybody's got to get out there. Massive numbers, massive turnout. Here in Germany, the election swung way towards the AfD, way towards the right. The public has shown they do not want leftist ideological politics anymore. And so they're hoping that the so-called center party, the CDU, will be able to sweep things up and become the party they used to be. That's not going to happen, I can tell you that right now. But they're hoping. So they are choosing in the votes the AfD and the center party, the CDU, that are supposed to be the conservatives. They're choosing the CDU. The people choosing the CDU are the people that still hope that the CDU will turn over a new leaf and walk away from its leftist pull that they've had over the last 20 years and walk towards more to the right, more towards the center. I think they're going to be disappointed. I think that's not going to happen. And the people who are voting AfD have seen through the lies of the establishment and said, enough is enough. We've got to give different people a chance to do this, because this is getting us nowhere, right? This is getting us nowhere. So there's two factions now, and the right is starting to win. The people are starting to move more towards the right. The citizenry all over the Western world are starting to move more towards the right. Absolutely. We see it, right? We see it. And the establishment is very afraid, right? And if we don't want to have to end up in civil wars all over our different countries, we're going to have to use the voting system while we still can to try to get these people out of office without force, without violence, right? That's what everybody wants. Nobody is waiting for them. Nobody's waiting to upend their lives and upend their existence in order to fight on the ground, boots on the ground battles with politicians or with the established governments. Nobody's wanting to do that. But if we don't clear this problem up now, if we don't do this by voting, if we don't do this by democracy somehow, democratic process, the democratic process doesn't prevail, then we will have no other choice. And I guess everybody wants to avoid that. So be smart, get out and vote. Everybody vote for the right people. Stop voting with your emotions only. Vote with your brain. You know what I mean? Really. Vote with your brain. Vote for the parties and the people that are actually talking about doing something that will benefit you, as a citizen. That's who you got to vote for. Now, the insanity report for tomorrow, I'm going to allude to a little bit, because I heard on a podcast just offhand a little bit ago that the Hells Angels are heading towards Aurora, Colorado. Last week, I think, it was last week, yeah, I did an insanity report about Aurora, Colorado, because there's an apartment complex there that has been taken over by a Venezuelan prison gang that has entered the country illegally, and they are basically captured this apartment complex by force with guns and the management of the apartment complex doesn't know what to do. The city is doing nothing. The police are doing nothing. And the regular people are getting evicted or extorted by the Venezuelan prison gang. Now, that's crazy that would be allowed to happen in an American city. That's insane, right? But they aren't doing anything. So who is coming to the rescue, apparently? The Hells Angels, right? Well, let me tell you guys something. If that's true, and I'm going to look into it, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I only heard it offhand this morning on a podcast. So that does not, it's not a verification for me. I guess we're going to find out if they're on their way there. Because if they're on their way there and they get there, I can tell you right now, all hell is going to break loose, and we'll definitely hear about it. But that's what I'm going to cover tomorrow in the Insanity Report. I'm going to look this up a little bit. Because if this is true, this might be the kickoff of the Civil War that is coming to America. It might be because regular people are too cowardly. The government isn't going to do anything to protect you against these illegals. And the only people that will are strong people that are generally going to be on the right. And then the Hells Angels, as bad as they may be, you know what I mean? I don't know enough about them except for horror stories you hear from the establishment, which I don't trust, so I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Do they do bad shit? Probably some of them do, for sure. We all do, right? So I'm not so worried about that. But I think they're going to be probably the best of the people that are going to come out of the woodwork to try to save the country by force if they have to. Because when you get the real neo-Nazis, the real extremists out there that are going to take the place of the citizens that should be less cowardly but aren't, then you're going to have a real issue on your hands in America. Then it's going to be civil war. And there will be, for those factions that take up arms and fucking actually fight this civil war with their own hands, with their own blood. Those people are not going to take any dissent from fucking hippies, tofu-eating motherfuckers on little electric scooters, right? They're not going to take any orders from you all. And you guys are going to want to be protected. And then you're going to have to fucking shut up and walk in and get in line. And nobody wants any of this to happen. So, hey, I hope that for the people of Aurora, Colorado, I hope the Hells Angels are on their way to take care of this problem. But I don't think this is a good sign for what may be to come in America, if that's the case. We'll get into it tomorrow. So look for the Insanity Report tomorrow, guys. You guys have a great day today. Hey, people, if you're seeing this for the first time, you want to get my articles, my videos into your inbox directly, automatically, without having to look for them, without having to wait for them to be posted on social media. You can do so by subscribing to my Substack below. You'll see the links down there. You can do it for free. You can do it for $5 a month. Either way, I'll be appreciative of your subscription. If you're watching this somewhere else, like on Rumble, for example, then go ahead and follow me there. But I would rather you eventually also subscribe to the Substack. The Substack is It's All About Logic. It's All About Logic, all one word, no apostrophe. It's All About Logic, all one word, .substack.com. Subscribe there. That's the best place because you get all the content delivered directly to you without having to search around for it. Now, there are some perks for the paid subscribers. You can look for those on my page. They will get to be more and more as time goes on. But in the meantime, while I still have a low subscriber count, I want to get my message out to as many people as possible without having everybody to pay for it. So that's it, people. Go ahead and subscribe down below. You'll see it. And we'll see you on tomorrow's Insanity Report, where we will discuss the Hells Angels going to Aurora, Colorado to save the day. Have a good one, guys.